Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics, They're Bad For You. Or if you're on my BitChute channel, Comic Freak, today we're going to be reviewing Spider-Man Life Story Issue 4, the 90s. The cover by Chip Zdarsky, showing an overweight Spider-Man climbing up a building, looking at himself in the glass, is a good cover, though I could have done for more color than just one red color all over with it and black and white, of course. I mean, come on, make it actually look like a building here with a red, blue, and black Spider-Man. Then rather just this one color he seems to insist on doing on every cover in this series. Chip Zdarsky's writing as well has been good and on point in this comic, as well as the art by Mark Bagley. And what else can I say about the cover? It was good. And we start out in 1995 with Ben Reilly, who apparently is no longer married to the clone of Gwen Stacy. He's along with his news partner, who apparently knows he's the Scarlet Spider. He asks if everyone's gotten out, or should he dress up and go in there himself, as they look at the fire. They don't know who caused the fire, but soon they hear a big toom, and Ben Reilly looks around. He wonders what's happening. It turns out it's Dr. Octopus who grabs his partner. He says, "Greetings, Ben," or something to that effect. "I've been looking for you, looking for the Scarlet Hero of Chicago." Apparently, he doesn't really know the Scarlet Spider's name. Now, this is good artwork, and it shows a rather vulnerable Dr. Octopus who's older. And we switch over to Peter Parker over in New York. Apparently, he's fighting off Tony Stark's advances to try and buy Parker Industries. He tells off Tony that he should be more honest and good because he's a hero. And all he does is enrage Tony Stark. He says, without Stark Industries, America would have fallen behind. We won the Russian war, for God's sakes. Peter tells Tony Stark that he has no intention of selling Parker Industries to Stark Industries. And Tony Stark, with a breath, huffs and gets out of Parker's office. Peter then calls, or gets a call from someone. I think it's Felicia Harding, because I'm not quite sure who it is. It shows an oldest type of woman, maybe a woman in her 40s or so. She's still good looking, but I'm just not quite sure it's actually the Black Cat. We go on with Spider-Man, who keeps going on about how he continues to play Spider-Man and continues to help people and try to make sure no one come to harm if he can. As you can see, his outfit looks to be more like armor now, because Spider-Man is near 50 at this point. It's 1995, so he's at least 47 years old. But not long after that, Peter Parker hears a commotion and he finds Dr. Octopus throwing a bus around. He wants Spider-Man to come out. And he screams, "Otto Octavius is back." I gotta tell you, for a guy who's probably pushing 70 or 80 years old, Dr. Octopus is one hell of a villain for his age. I gotta say, I really like this. And look at that artwork by Mark Bagley. This is beautiful artwork. And Dr. Octopus wastes no time in beating and thrashing Spider-Man unconscious. Dr. Octopus uses a knockout gas from one of his tentacles, rendering Spider-Man unconscious. He hauls him off. The last thing Peter hears is Dr. Octopus saying, "Save the day yet again? Your aunt would be so proud." The next thing Peter knows, he wakes up in Dr. Octopus's lab, right next to Ben Reilly. Dr. Octopus says he figured out Peter's secret identity because Peter and Spider-Man were always there in Aunt May's life. He blames Spider-Man for Aunt May leaving him. And Ben Reilly just says, "Well, you can't really blame her. You're a criminal." Something to that effect. Dr. Octopus says he needs Ben Reilly and Spider-Man because Ben Reilly is the only working clone from Professor Warren. So he tells them he's dying and he needs their secrets. He needs to scan them to figure out how to reverse engineer the cloning process so he can make a clone of himself. But what he finds out is that Peter Parker is actually the clone and Ben Reilly is Peter Parker. And he looks back in astonishment at what has happened. All these years fighting Spider-Man, he'd actually been fighting the clone and not actually Peter Parker. At least for a good last 20 years. Peter says, it can't be true. Don't listen to it, Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly says, for years I've been living another man's life and I haven't been living my own. It's all your fault, Peter. And it's all your fault as well, Professor Warren, as well as every villain in my life that's made my life hell. He then he gets ready to thresh out of the restraints that had been holding him down. He thrushes around. He keeps till he begins to break the restraints. And he goes after Dr. Octopus. Even though he's screaming at Peter, you stole my life. His anger is not just at Dr. Octopus, but also at Professor Warren and Peter Parker. Because he knows now that he was Peter Parker all this time, and not a clone. He continues to go after Dr. Octopus, trying to beat him unconscious. And the artwork here is great. Peter manages to break out of his restraints, and Harry Osborn is there as well. He'd been coaxed by his father to help Dr. Octopus capture Peter and Ben Reilly. Dr. Octopus, meanwhile, says he doesn't need them alive, he just needs their corpses so he can scan them. Even though he says to Peter Parker's how abominable or something. I can still get their secrets from their corpses. Harry Osborn had been into this against his will. He didn't want to involve his friend in this, but his father twisted his arm until Harry agreed to do it. And he notices Ben Reilly jump out of the way as Dr. Octopus uses his tentacle to go for Peter's heart. Harry throws himself violently in front of Peter, screaming no, saving Peter's life, even though Peter is Spider-Man and could easily get out of the way. Harry dies in Peter's arms. Peter insists that Ben become Peter Parker and take over Parker Industries. He tells Ben he can no longer keep doing this, keep playing Spider-Man. He's getting too old, and all the years of fighting as Spider-Man have taken its toll on him physically as well as on his life. Ben tells him that he's been playing Spider-Man as well. Well, he's been playing the Scarlet Spider. And Ben Reilly becomes the new head of Parker Industries. He is now Peter Parker once again. Peter goes and confronts Norman Osborn. He tells him Norman's plan to make him think that he's a clone failed. Norman says yes, he did plan it out, that he'd try to frame Peter as the clone. But Peter had run tests and figured out that he was actually the real Peter Parker. A fight ensures, but I won't tell you how it ends. I'll leave that up to you if you want to read the issue yourself. Afterwards, Peter heads out to the country. He heads to the house that Mary Jane bought after she divorced him, where she's living with their children. Peter decides he's no longer Peter Parker. He's going to be Ben Reilly, or at least maybe still go by Peter, and be Peter the father. He heads out there, driving across country to see his children. His children greet him, and they hug him, finally glad and happy to be with their father. And Mary Jane comes out of the front door, and they all go inside, happy, a family once again. This is how this issue ends. It ends really well. It still leaves a Peter Parker in New York City being Spider-Man, and it has Peter finally reunited with his kids and his wife. Let them live a happy life. Now, if you like this review, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you're not subscribed, please subscribe to me and hit that bell so you get notifications for all my videos. Hit that like button and leave some comments down below. And remember, if you're watching this on my BitChute channel, Comic Freak, please subscribe there too. If you're watching this on YouTube, go over to BitChute and subscribe there as well, because you get all my videos there that I put on YouTube. And also, keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. I'll be back again with another video or review.